It's been an offseason of change for the Arkansas Razorbacks football program. Sam Pittman and company are looking to bounce back after a 7-6 season last year, going 3-5 in the SEC. That on the heels of a 9-4 season the year before. And here on Southeastern 14, we're going to break down the 2023 preview of the Arkansas Razorback season and talk about the expectations for Sam Pittman and company. Hello, everyone. I'm Blayne Gilmer. Welcome to Southeastern 14, where we cover all things SEC. Yes, Arkansas fans, many of you already know the great coverage that Chris Lee and Blake Lovell do on the basketball side of things. Of course, with Arkansas having made a run to the Sweet 16 now as we're recording this. And, of course, baseball is underway in the SEC as well. Both of those sports covered in depth here on Southeastern 14. So make sure to subscribe, like, turn on notifications if you haven't already. The channel's growing like crazy, and that's because of you guys. But now it's time to talk Sam Pittman and the Arkansas Razorbacks in 2023. And you can't talk Arkansas football, of course, without talking about the head man, Sam Pittman. Sam Pittman now is 19-17 in his 3-year tenure with Arkansas. You know, you got to take some of that with a grain of salt, honestly, because the first year, COVID year, all that kind of stuff, some challenges there. They really should have won 2 or 3 more games that year than they did. They went 3-7 the first year, 9-4 year 2, 7-6. I think one reason it feels a little bit different that 19-17 is because the expectations, I think, were so high after that 9-4 year. And Sam Pittman even went into the season, when he went on his speaking tour engagements and stuff like that, saying, hey, this thing can go either way in the SEC West, and it's hard to win every year. And listen, I agree. SEC West is a brutal division of football to play in. But when you have success like Sam Pittman did in 2021, that's what's going to happen. The expectations come with the success, and they just didn't quite live up to those expectations, and looking to bounce back this year. Changes on the coordinator side of things for Sam Pittman. He's a guy who he's going to rally that Arkansas fan base around him. I mean, he really embodies what that program is about. He's brought so much spirit back to it after the, downtime that they had under Chad Morris. So I think that he's going to have a little bit of rope here. It's going to be a little while before the seat really gets hot for a guy like Sam Pittman. But there is some pressure to win this year, and I think Sam Pittman knew that, so that's why he went out and got some different coordinators. And now, listen, he lost Kendall Briles to TCU, but he goes out and gets a guy in Dan Enos, who I think is a tremendous hire. A lot of people, one thing or another about Dan Enos, I think with his 6 seasons as an FBS OC, that, averaging 29.7 points a game in those 6 years as an offensive coordinator at the FBS level, with his high season coming at the 2015 Arkansas team, averaging 35.9 points a game. And that was with Brett Bielema, Brandon Allen at quarterback, Alex Collins at running back, Drew Morgan was his leading receiver, Hunter Henry was a very productive tight end for him. He's worked with Sam Pittman before at Arkansas when Sam was the offensive line coach there, so they already have that rapport and understanding for each other. And listen, he's been a guy who at Maryland, his teams were highly productive, especially at the quarterback position with Talia Tungavailoa. In 2 seasons under Enos, he was 68% passing, almost 7,000 yards passing with 68, 44 touchdowns, 19 interception, and that's in the Big Ten East, guys. When you look at college football, there's the SEC West, and then there's the Big Ten East in terms of the toughest divisions to play in. So that's taking a Maryland team to go play Ohio State, to go play Penn State, to go play Michigan. And Danny Enos' teams push those teams. Ohio State this year, they had them on the ropes this past year. So and we're scoring point for point with the Buckeyes. So I think Dan Enos brings a toughness. He brings a guy who's had experience. And listen, when he wasn't a coordinator, 2018, helping developing Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama, and then 2020 with Desmond Ridder, really did some good stuff there with him in Cincinnati. Helped those guys make their way, to get in position to make a playoff run. So I think Desmond Ridder and Tua Tagovailoa, Talia Tagovailoa, what he did with Brandon Allen that year at Arkansas, I think there's plenty on his resume that says, okay, Dan Enos knows what he's doing. He can get it done. I think he's coming back to a familiar place. I think that was a good hire for Arkansas. So excited to see what the Arkansas offense, and we'll talk some of the player personnel here on that side of the ball in just a minute. Travis Williams comes in to take the place of Barry Odom, who left to be the UNLV head coach. Travis Williams has been in the SEC, before with Gus Malzahn at Auburn. He was kind of a co-defensive coordinator in name, handled a lot of the recruiting responsibilities, but then he goes with Gus to UCF, and he was the guy calling the plays last year. Here's what I think Arkansas fans are really going to like about Travis Williams. One, like I said, he can recruit his tail off. He is a high-energy guy. He's a guy that the recruits really relate to well. And he's proven he can pull in some major recruits. I think having Travis Williams and Jimmy Smith, together on that staff, that's quite the recruiting combo for Arkansas there. Now, as far as scheme wise, I think that Arkansas fans are really going to enjoy the scheme change. You're going to have less of 3-man, 8 in coverage type deals where people are just running the football right at you. I think you're going to see more aggressive, more simulated pressures, a mix between 4-man front, 3-man front. You're going to see some shade nose. You're going to see a 3 technique and a 2-eye. I mean, you're going to have a big defensive end anchoring, the 5 technique on one side, more of a jack and, hybrid guy on the other. So the nickel will be involved a lot in some pressures and things like that. So I think that Travis Williams is going to bring energy. He's going to bring a little bit different scheme. And of course, recruiting. Sam Pittman said, we needed to find a guy who's going to be a great recruiter as our defensive coordinator. And he said, as soon as he interviewed Travis Williams face-to-face, he called the AD at Arkansas and said, hey, found the guy. He's the one that they want. So Sam Pittman got his guy at DC, and we'll see how the Williams era does there on the defensive side of the ball. Definitely Arkansas needs improvement there. I mean, you're talking about they gave up 30.6 points per game, 101st in college football when it comes to the defensive side of the ball on the scoring defense. And guys, they gave up 170 yards per game rushing. You cannot win in the SEC doing that. And I think Travis Williams, that'll be priority number one to make sure that they take care of things on that side of the ball. Offensive wise, it all starts with KJ Jefferson, who's returning, and Rocket Sanders. Listen, they lost some guys, and we'll talk about that at on the receiving core and tight end and things like that. But KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders are really kind of the foundation of this offense that Dan Enos gets to build around. KJ Jefferson, I think, is looking for a big jump in his overall development. We know the physical traits. We know he can throw it a mile. We know that he is just huge and can run the football. Sometimes, just bully people at times. He's got to stay healthy. He's been banged up at different times, right? And the passing, he's been inconsistent passing-wise throughout his career at Arkansas. But the thing about KJ Jefferson is you're getting a guy who has a wealth of experience. He's played in just about every environment you could throw at him. And now he has to be that guy. He has to be that leader for Arkansas. And Rocket Sanders just absolutely came in and set the SEC on fire last year. I mean, he's a guy who he just runs with, reckless abandon, it seems at times. I love the way that he runs. He's a guy from the state of Florida, brings some speed, brings a size combination, 6'2", 227 pounds. Listen, last year, 1,443 yards, 10 touchdowns, 6.5 yards per carry, just outstanding. Right now, he would be the team's, second leading returning receiver. So they, because they're having to totally redo it receiver, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But point is, if Arkansas is going to be successful in this season, what they need another big year out of Rocket Sanders, and they need KJ Jefferson to take kind of the next step. They also, in that backfield with them, have Rashad Dubinion and AJ Green. So a tremendous running back core over there for Arkansas. And I think, with KJ Jefferson's legs, I think, honestly, Dan Enos would like to use his legs less if he could. But there's going to be times, of course, where, the numbers are going to be there. KJ Jefferson also just can create at times. So definitely look for that combination in the backfield to have a lot of success. Then offensive line wise, what's in front of them? Okay. They lost Ricky Stromberg. They lost Dalton Wagner. They bring in Josh Braun from Florida. He's a transfer in from the Florida Gators. Listen, Josh Braun was recruited heavily by Sam Pittman at Georgia. Okay, he ends up flipping to Florida late. I think after Sam Pittman took the job at Arkansas, he flipped to Florida. So now that relationship pays off, and Josh Braun comes to Arkansas, 6'6", 335 pounds, probably going to play right guard for the Razorbacks. So that's a guy with SEC experience that comes in and is going to ease the pain of things. Brady Latham comes back at left guard. You got Bo Limmer, who's kind of switching from right guard to center. He did so for the Liberty Bowl in that game, so he's already got a little bit of experience there. Andrew Chamblee, Tykeus Crawford, Devin Manuel, those are guys that are kind of in that rotation, that mix for the two tackle positions. So it's exciting to see what Sam Pittman can do up front. Because we all know that that's the thing closest to his heart is former offensive line coach. So I have no doubts that Sam Pittman will be able to make things work with that offensive line, and bringing in a huge guy like Josh Braun to help anchor things, and having the experience of a Bo Limmer and Brady Latham doesn't hurt as well. So you got to get those tackle positions figured out. But I think having the experience that they do at quarterback alleviate some of that. Hopefully KJ Jefferson can help with, protections, and of course, just getting rid of the ball when he needs to as well. Knowing where his hots are, all those kind of things. Wide receiver wise, we said that they were going to lose a lot on the outside. Jaden Hazelwood is gone. Matt Landers is gone. Trey Knox is gone at tight end. So they need some playmakers to come in, and they had to get an influx of that quickly. Arguably, nobody has been more active and productive in the transfer portal the last couple of years than Sam Pittman, going out and getting a lot of guys that have helped buoy the success of that Arkansas program over the last couple of years. Tyrone Broden is a guy who they're looking from Bowling Green to come in. Look at the size over here, 6'7", 210 pounds. He's a guy who just has a catch radius that is humongous. Does a nice job with the ball in the air. Also does a good job creating after the catch as well. So I think KJ Jefferson is going to have a true number one guy, Tyrone Broden. And, they also brought in some other guys as well, Andrew Armstrong, Isaac Tesla. So, there's guys returning on the roster. Bryce Stevens is maybe more the one experienced ones. Sam Mbake from the North Cobb area in Georgia, who, former teammates with Malachi Singleton, who's a freshman quarterback on Arkansas's team, that I wouldn't be surprised if Malachi Singleton ends up, doing some special run packages or something like that for Arkansas, because he's a really effective runner from quarterback, especially if you want to try to save KJ Jefferson's legs. But at the wide receiver position, Tyrone Broden is a guy I think is going to make a big impact in the SEC this year. They've got Nathan Bax and Ty Washington at tight end, who are going to kind of replace what they lost in Trey Knox, who transferred to South Carolina. So it's going to be interesting. The playmakers on the outside, I think, are the biggest wild card for Arkansas. But if a guy like Tyrone Broden can come in and really make some plays there, I think that's a big deal for this Arkansas team in 2023. Defensively, we know that Bumper Pool and Drew Sanders are gone from the linebacker positions. Antonio Greer comes over, just super productive at USF. He was an American Athletic Conference all-conference player for a couple of seasons there. Just a ton of tackles for that UCF Bulls defense. So he's going to bring some experience, bring some toughness over there. They got Chris Paul, who's slated to step in at the Mike linebacker position and really kind of be a leader in the Travis Williams defense there. The questions a lot are at the secondary position. Okay, they got to find who the best corners are. They got Dwight McGlothern, who I think everybody knows is really athletic, a guy that I think they can count on. He's a senior. He's got a lot of experience. So I think he'll man one of those. They bring in Jaheim Singletary, a transfer from Georgia. He could compete at corner. Quincy McAdoo is another guy compete at corner. So Sam Pittman has been, quoted saying, okay, who's going to fit in on the secondary and who's going to be the best corners? But they bring in a guy named Al Walcott, Alphaeum Walcott. That goes by Al Walcott from Baylor. He's a guy who 6'2", 219 pounds. I mean, he's a big guy. He's going to probably replace Latavius Burney at that strong safety position. Maybe play nickel in certain situations, but he's just so physical. 82 tackles for Baylor. He had a couple sacks, tackles for a loss. I mean, he causes some deflections and turnovers. He's been experienced in the Big 12. Injured right now, won't be available till really June probably because of an injury. But I know they would have liked to have him for this spring to just kind of get him assimilated into the offense. But Al Walcott is a name to know. Lorando Johnson, also from Baylor as well, a transfer that could fit in probably at that nickel position. So they're really trying to see how the secondary is going to shake out there. But hey, you got to like a guy with the middle name Snacks there. So Lorando Snacks Johnson comes from Baylor as well, 6 foot, 193 pounds. So look for Walcott and Johnson to make a big impact in that secondary this year for the Razorbacks. And listen, guys, Arkansas as a whole, okay? Arkansas as a whole is a team that, you just got to look at in terms of having a DNA about them with Sam Pittman that, they're going to know exactly what the standard is, what the expectation is from the head coach. Now they've got to get used to some of the new coordinators, some of the new schemes. They're going to work that out this spring. But let's look at the schedule here. When it comes to some of the cupcake games, you got Western Carolina and then Kent State coming to town in the first 2 weeks of the season. Ought to be able to, get KJ Jefferson and that wide receiving core kind of assimilated to one another a little bit there. So that will be something to watch. Then in week 3, BYU comes to town. Arkansas beat up on BYU last year. So I think that it's going to be, it's going to be interesting. BYU moving to the Big 12, but, being that game's at home in Fayetteville, I like Arkansas. So you should get off to a 3-0 start if you're Arkansas. That should be the minimum expectation. One of those first 3 games should not be dropped if you're Arkansas and you want to have the kind of year that you're looking to have. And then it gets tough in a hurry. Okay. You got to go on the road to LSU, the defending SEC West champions. I think they're going to have one of the best receiving cores in the entire. They're going to have the best receiving core in the SEC. Period. I think that LSU's loaded at wide receiver. Jaden Daniels comes back at quarterback. That's tough to defend. That's going to test Travis Williams' defense early on. Being on the road at Baton Rouge, that's always tough. They got some other tough road games after that. 2 weeks later, Ole Miss got to go to the Grove and play over there in Oxford against Lane Kiffin and company. But I think Arkansas has a really good chance in that one, because I think the different style of defense that they'll play will help them. Now, who's the quarterback? Is it Jackson Dart? Is it Spencer Sanders over there? But I like Arkansas's chances going to the Grove at Alabama. Always tough. Listen, Arkansas 2 years ago almost took down Alabama in Tuscaloosa. So, KJ Jefferson's been in that environment before. We'll see there. They go on the road to Florida. Listen, I don't think Florida is very good this year. I think Florida is going to take even a further step back maybe from what they did last year. So Arkansas should, they really want to help themselves out and have a chance to win, 9 games, push for double-digit wins this year. They need to beat Florida. Because like I said, the cupcake games, so let's count them. They got Western Carolina, Kent State, and FIU. That's 3 wins right there. I think they'll beat BYU. That could be 4 wins. I like their chances at Ole Miss. I like their chances at Florida. That right there puts you at 6 wins. And then you've got Mississippi State at home. That should be, Zach Arnett is replacing Mike Leach, but I like the program stability right now of Arkansas over Mississippi State. That tough situation that Zach Arnett having to step in after the unexpected passing of Mike Leach. So who knows how that all transitions this year. And that could put you at 7 wins right there, with the swing games in this season being Texas A&M coming in. Their backs are kind of against the wall. But Arkansas gets them at home. Of course, you have Bobby Petrino coming in to Arkansas. So that is going to be a interesting storyline, all week with that one. I would imagine CBS probably get that game, the last year of the CBS games. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there, with Arkansas hosting their former head coach coming to town as Texas A&M's OC. And they got Connor Wegman, they got Evan Stewart, they got Moose Muhammad. So it's going to be another test, back-to-back weeks for Travis Williams' defense. And I think defense is going to be the key, because I think Dan Enos and company are going to put up points with Rocket Sanders, KJ Jefferson, Tyrone Broden, a lot of those guys that we've already talked about. So the swing games, Texas A&M, is kind of a game up in the air to me. They host Auburn. I think Auburn could be a lot better at that point in the year with Hugh Freeze coming in. His teams, tend to show a lot of improvement. Listen, Liberty beat Arkansas last year under Hugh Freeze. So, we'll see how much carryover there is from that, and how he knows that Arkansas scheme a little bit. And then Missouri, of course, is a team that Arkansas lost to last year, and that's always a rivalry game. It's always a game that is, high energy. I mean, there's a lot going in with that one, and I think that was a game that Arkansas feels like they should have won last year. They should have taken care of business on that. So now they get them at home, and we'll try to do that there. So of the 4 swing games, I'm going to call them 4 or 5 swing games, how do you do against LSU, Texas A&M, Arkansas? How do you do against LSU, Texas A&M, Alabama, Auburn, and Missouri? Those 5 games, because I think the other ones you can kind of mark down as wins right now. So that puts you, I think the floor is 7 wins in the regular season. And if you can win 3 of those games, and I think Auburn is winnable, Missouri's very winnable, and Texas A&M I think is winnable, I think you could legitimately see close to a 9-10 game win season for Arkansas. But like I said, it's the SEC West. It is a gauntlet week in and week out. So Tell me your thoughts. We'd love to hear them in the comments. But I think the expectations for Arkansas at minimum should be 8-9 wins this year. They've got the talent. They just have to mesh things together, get those new pieces and the new schemes kind of ironed out here in the spring. But I think I have confidence in Sam Pittman's ability to build cohesiveness on a team, get the team to buy in. I think that he'll get guys, in the trenches playing well on the offensive side of the ball. And they just have to get better at stopping the run on defense. 170 yards per game rushing that they allowed last year. And then just hold teams out of the red zone. Listen, T. Will's defense at UCF was the 5th best in the country in terms of red zone defense. So I think that bodes well for Arkansas going forward. Knows how to make adjustments once teams get in that red area. So like I said, tell us your comments, subscribe, like, turn on notifications. For Southeastern 14, I'm Blayne Gilmer, and we will catch you next time here to cover more SEC football for the 2023 season.